Welcome to the Childcare Business Coach podcast with Evelyn Knight, where mindset mechanics come together for success. Evelyn Knight is the leader of the ECE revolution and is on a mission to touch 1 million children's lives through the elevation of the ECE community.
Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year. This is my first actual recording for the new year, and I just wanted to welcome you and thank you for coming today. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday season. I'm really excited to be back. It was an amazing time. And by the way, welcome to the Childcare Business Coach podcast. My name is Evelyn Knight. I just feel so refreshed and so ready for 2024. So those of you listening to the podcast, you might be listening to in the future. And so today is my first time recording, and I actually just got back from a 2.5 week fast where I actually stopped any type of external input from coming into my life. So I have been off social media for 2 weeks, and I haven't broken my fast yet. I have not logged on to social media yet. Which I will be today because I'm officially done fasting. And I have not looked at just anything. I haven't allowed really things to come into my mind so that I could really just sort through my own thoughts and be with myself. And it has been an amazing experience. I love it. It has been wonderful just getting all of the noise out of my life. No audiobooks. For those of you who know me, I'm always listening to a book or a podcast or just trying to constantly grow and learn. And so I decided that it was time, and actually through prayer, a lot of prayer, I decided that it was time to just stop and just really lean into my own thoughts, my own voice, my own heart. And I cannot recommend it enough. I recommend that every single one of you does the same thing. Just give yourself some time, just some time to be with you. You guys know I'm a God girl. And as I was going through this time, I was just really praying and just before I entered into this time. And I just was really in just not a good space. I can't say I wasn't in a bad space, but I wasn't in the best space either. And I felt like my connection to God, there was something not there. And so one day I went into prayer and I was like, God, what is going on? Why can't I hear you? And I really just felt him tell me, because you never listen. It's never quiet enough for you to listen. And that hit me so hard. And I really analyzed my life and realized, oh my gosh, it never is quiet. I always have to consume. I'm so addicted to consuming. And so ironically, this isn't even what I'm talking about today. I will be talking to you guys about the power of today, but it kind of will go into play with what I'm talking about. So I just realized that I never am quiet. I never have quiet time where something isn't coming into my brain because I always want to be learning. For me, my idea of success is to grow. So always educating myself more and bringing more into my life is my idea of success. But what I didn't realize is I wasn't giving myself time to hear my own thoughts and to really connect with God. And I wonder how many of you are in the same boat, whether you're a God girl or not, or a God gentleman or not. I want you to really think about all of the things coming into your brain, right? Everybody's opinion. And for those of you who are my clients, even mine, how many of you are making your decisions based on what somebody else tells you? And you're not listening to your gut. You're not listening to your God-given wisdom or even God. And that was what I really came to see over this last 2 weeks of quiet and peace. And let me tell you, the peace, wow, it is so peaceful not being connected. But I realized that because I have all these voices coming at me all the time, whether it's an audiobook or a podcast or whatever it is, I wasn't really giving myself time to hear my own voice. So how many of you need to disconnect and hear your own voice too? The other thing I really came to realize, which is what we'll be talking about today, is the power of one day. I live in the future, literally. My mind is always a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So everything I'm constructing is very intentional because I'm always thinking of how is it going to affect me in the future? How is it going to play out? How is it? Everything I post on Facebook, everything I do, well, when it comes to my business, right? Well, I mean, really everything. I'm always thinking, how is this going to affect my business? How is this going to play into this? How is this going to do that? And I'm always in the future. I used to live in the future. The former me lived in the future. But one of the things I've wanted towards the end of last year, what I really was starting to long for is the ability to be present. And I understand with ADHD and the issues I struggle with that it is hard to be present. And so many of you, especially for those of you who are entrepreneurs that follow me, for us entrepreneurs, being present, you probably have ADHD too. I mean, it's actually a huge trait for people who are entrepreneurs. We just, we're just go, 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 right? So if you do too, you know what I mean. It's so hard to just be centered, be present. But I think I use that as an excuse. And I stopped really trying to overcome it or even just control it. So I allowed myself to always be into the future instead of being in the here and now where we belong, right? And it started to really bother me because things would be happening around me. And instead of enjoying my time with my children or enjoying whatever it was that I was doing, I was so absorbed in what do I have to do tomorrow? What do I have to do next week? Where am I traveling? Where am I doing this? Where am I doing that? And my mind was never in today. I literally lived in tomorrow. And I have huge goals and dreams, but I live there. And that is a problem. Now, I'm not saying don't have goals and dreams because if you work with me, I'm going to push you. I'm going to push you to stretch yourself farther than you've ever been stretched. And I'm going to make you dream bigger than you've ever dreamed in your life. But you also have to enjoy today. I found an old journal of mine, and I actually was purposely looking through because I'm have a book contract right now, and I'm trying to write the book, but I have to take myself back to somebody I used to be instead of the me of today. And I was having a very hard time connecting with my old self. So I was going through some of my old journals, reading through, and something that really shocked me was what my goals used to be. Like 20 years ago, I had goals that I had created for myself that today seem crazy. They just seem like, really? This was my goal? That's all I dreamt of at that time? Like, just for an example, one of my goals was for me to make $100,000 a year, right? It was like I wanted to be able to create a business that was bringing in 100,000 a year. And I was looking at this like, that's all. And I was selling Avon at the time. I'm like, that's what I dreamt of was $100,000. Are you kidding? But then something struck me. I don't think I even noticed when I hit it. I never even noticed when I hit my goal. And I've always been very ambitious. So as I'm looking through my old journals, I can see in my old journals where even before I started my 10-year plan, where like my goal was to make 100,000 a year. Then I had a next goal and the next goal and the next goal and the next goal. And I kept upping the bar, right? And then until it was probably about, I don't know even how long anymore, but when I started creating my first 10-year goals, it's only been about 10 years, but usually I achieve my 10-year goals so much faster. They usually only take me about 4 or 5 years. That I actually haven't gone through a whole full 10-year with a 10-year goal. So as I was looking, before I actually officially started doing this, I was looking at my patterns of how they did get bigger, but I never realized that. And I never realized or celebrated when I achieved my goals, because to me, it's all just like one big thing. And instead of looking at today, I'm always looking at the next big thing and this year, right? Or this quarter or this half decade. That is where my mind always is. And I really lost sight on the power of today. And one of the biggest things that God has really revealed to me in the last 2 weeks is how powerful today is. How incredibly, and I'm sorry, you guys, I have 2 phones and there goes my desk. I have 2 phones and I forgot to turn the notifications off on one of them. So I did forget about how powerful today, just this day that we're living in, is, because I'm always living for the year, for next year, for these huge goals. And I stopped looking at the power of today. Now, I will be completely transparent and honest with you guys. Last year was a rough year for me. It was a wonderful year and there was amazing things that happened, but there also were some struggles and challenges. And I have to confess, the challenges and the struggles I faced are because of me. And it's really because of my inability to be present, or my former inability. Words are important, you guys. Words are so important. So when I say things like that, I'm going to correct myself, because that was me yesterday. The me I was yesterday does not have to be the me I am today. I can choose not to be. So the former me really struggled with today, because I have these huge things that I see, but I have a hard time living in today. So when I go into meetings, when I'm with, again, my children, I'm always on the next thing mentally, which makes it hard for me to be present and really pour into what I need to do. So one of the things that God really showed me is how powerful each and every day really is, and how powerful it is for us to take control of our days and really live day by day. And we think in terms of it's a new year, a new start. But what I came to realize is every day is a new start. We have 365 every new starts every year, right? So why is it just New Year's? Why not have a daily resolution? And I do create daily goals, but my daily goals are really in order for me to get to those future things, which I still will do. I'm not going to drop that, but I am also going to take a lot more time to enjoy being present. And I also am going to take a lot more time just being happy and grateful for today, for what I have. I do desire more my whole life, more growth. And when I say more, I don't mean materialism. I mean growth. I mean just being out there, changing the world, doing what I do for children, and really seeing that impact and how I can change the world and how I can really influence lives and really do something more and bigger. And that won't change. I do have big dreams and I'm going to go after them, and I'll continue. And I'm sure when I achieve this dream, I'll have another one and another one and another one. But I also will take today to celebrate where I am and what I've accomplished. And I am so grateful and thankful for today. And I'm so thankful that God revealed that to me, that we do need to be thankful for this, for today. How many of you can look around, are just grateful for what you have? Even if there's a struggle, that's okay. It's okay. When my husband died, it was really hard, but one of the biggest lessons that I learned is that the reason it was hard is because I had so much to be grateful for. If the 30 years that I was married to him didn't have any high points, and if it was 100% miserable, then I wouldn't be mourning. It wouldn't have hurt so bad, right? But it's the wonderful, beautiful things that I had that made it hard. So I get to choose now. Do I get to be grateful for those amazing things that I had? Or am I going to be miserable for what I lost? And it goes the same every single day. When I walk around my home, there might be things, or my businesses or whatever, the economy is rough, right? For most of you, it's hard. But the reason it's hard is because you have something to fight for today. And be thankful and grateful for that. There are people who have nothing to fight for. They live a pointless life. And if you are fighting for something, even if you're just a mother who have your children to fight for, be thankful that you have something. There's a blessing in everything, in every situation, no matter how dark it is. There is something to be thankful for. And every single day we can choose. So, what leads us to disappointment? And why do we remain there? All disappointment in life comes down to expectations. It's our unmet expectations. We created an expectation in our mind of the way something should go, and it doesn't specifically go the way we had planned. So that causes us to have disappointment. Our unmet expectation causes us disappointment. It causes us anger. If you look at every problem in your life, it comes down to an outcome that you had tied to it, a future outcome. Everything you're disappointed in is because you created a picture in your mind of how something should look and should be. And when it didn't turn out that way, you became disappointed. And sometimes we scramble so desperately to make things happen the way we want it to happen, that we live in this life of absolute chaos, like we're swimming upstream, right? It's so hard because we're trying to force things to happen. But what if they weren't supposed to happen? What if what you're trying to force so hard was never supposed to happen? That is my former life. And that is the book I'm writing, is really just about stop swimming upstream. And it's how I used to be. And I'm a kayaker. So I think about my former life as kayaking against the current, right? And I think if I always kayaked against the current, and that's what kayaking was, I would not be a kayaker, because that is not the fun part. Now, the fun part is to go with the flow of the river. It's going with the current, and it's letting it take you where it goes. But so often we fight it and we fight it and we fight it. And one of the big things that God has revealed to me during my fast over the last 2 weeks is when I'm constantly doing and trying to force things to happen, I'm in the way. And whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever, there is a power out there trying to guide us, to take us through. But what I challenge and ask you is, are you trying to force your way, or are you just allowing things to happen? What if you just allowed? I know for me, my first thought, and I'm sorry, again, that's my spare phone. I'm going to actually silence it. So I know it's hard, right? Because it feels like everything's going to go out of control. And if I don't do it, what's going to happen? If I don't, everything's going to fall apart. If I don't force it, it's going to fall apart. And there are people who live their entire life like that, in absolute misery. But I have chosen not to. I'm not doing it anymore. And I kind of keep going back. I feel, if you've taken my class on overwhelm, I tell you life is like a spiral, right? I look at it as this spiral where sometimes you're at the top of the spiral. And I always picture a spring. Literally, if you picture a spring in your mind, it's like the spring, right? You're at the top of that spring, and then sometimes it spirals down. And then you go back and you go back and you go back. And I realized over this last 2 weeks is that I was like a spiral, where I would just be in this control, and I had faith in what was happening, and I didn't force things, and I just allowed life to, and then I go back to, no, I have to have control. I have to do it my way. I have to call the shots. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to. And then I live this life where I'm just so obsessed with forcing things because I am scared. I am scared that if I don't, everything's going to fall apart around me. But to be honest with you, when I'm in that state, everything does fall apart. And towards the end of last year, that's what my life felt like. like everything was falling apart. And I know when I come on here, I make it seem like it's all beautiful and I have all the answers. And you guys, if I make it, I never want to be that person. I never want to be that person that paints the picture of this beautiful, perfect life that I live, because it's not true. And I don't ever want any of you out there to feel like, oh my gosh, well, she's got it together. Why don't I? Because I don't. Sometimes I feel like absolute chaos. I mean, it's kind of like my background. What you see here is constructed for this, right? This is literally constructed because I know I'm going to be on camera. But if you saw the desk around me, I've got books piled over here. I've got my coffee mug over here. I've got my phone here. I've got piles over here, right? That's what life really is. And for those gurus we listen to a lot of times, they have their perfect setup background that looks all clean and beautiful, right? But you don't see what's surrounding the camera. I never want to be that person. And so, yes, at the end of last year, I was getting to the point where it felt like absolute chaos. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I honestly didn't know. Am I supposed to just quit and start new? What is going on with me? But what I didn't realize is that I was causing it, because I lived so much in that future and I wasn't paying attention to today. I wasn't paying attention to every single day of my life, and I wasn't being present, and I wasn't focusing on what is important. Instead, I was obsessed with what was going to happen to me tomorrow. I was obsessed with where I was going to be a year from now, 2 years from now. That my obsession with living in tomorrow was causing my grief of today. So, very important lesson I learned is the power of today. Just remember, today, every minute of the day is so important and precious. And one rule I do live by, and I'll recommend to you guys too, is when you start having a bad day, sometimes you wake up and it'll feel like, today's going to be one of those days, right? That's a phrase I do not allow myself to say, because I get to choose. And yes, you may wake up and the first 3 hours of your day, everything might go wrong. But on average, we're awake for 14 hours. Are you really going to choose, and I said choose, are you really going to choose to let your entire day not be a good day because 2 or 3 hours went wrong? Are you really going to waste a 14-hour day because a couple hours didn't go your way? It doesn't matter. You can choose. First 3 hours didn't go your way. That's okay. Tell yourself, I'm picking back up, and the next 3 are going to be perfect. The next 3 are going to be perfect, and the 3 after that. 14 hours is way too long for us to waste it on what might have happened first thing in the morning. And I used to be that person. I used to be the person who would wake up and one thing after the other would go wrong. And this morning, I woke up to a text message that at my childcare center, there looks like there's a leak and there's some things going wrong there. Now, I could have said, it's going to be one of those days. This is the first text of my day. And normally I don't look at my phone first thing in the morning, but I did this morning. And that's the first thing I saw. I could have decided, it's going to be one of those days. I already have to have maintenance go over to Zooin to check things out. But no, one incident isn't going to dictate my day. 14 hours. I'm not going to let that get to me. I get to choose what every day is going to be like, every moment. So don't let the power of a day go wasted. Understand that even if you've been having a bad start to your year, it doesn't matter. Today is a brand new day. Tomorrow is a new day. Start over whenever you need to. Every hour is new. And be present. Just learn to live in the power of the day. Have a wonderful week, everybody. And I know 2024 is going to be an amazing year. I can just feel it. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you for joining Evelyn today. For more information, please visit childcarebusinessprofessionals.com.